Here we are live. What's going on, beautiful J4 family? Welcome to another edition of J4 Conversations, solo dolo style. As you all know, we do a different kind of series. Today we are doing future father interviews, and we have a one and only beautiful guest, Mr. Zackary Teats. What's good, Zach? How you feeling?
Feeling good, AJ. Feeling good. Thanks for having me.
Man, thank you for joining me. So, Future Father Conversation has a tagline, and that is called Men Control Your Own Reproduction. And I started this series, Zach, because about 51% of our babies, 51% of African American children are born to homes with a single parent. Oftentimes you'll hear this number 70%, but that's the wedding status, the marital status of a mom at the time of delivery. A dad may be present, maybe they're engaged, lives in the house, whatever the case may be. But 51 are raised to children in single parent homes. And single moms and dads, I'm sure, are doing dynamic jobs, but that is a very high statistic and slightly problematic for our community, especially, Zach, when 25% of all other communities are raising single children. So 25 compared to 51. So that's why we're doing this. Thank you for joining us. So let's go ahead and start off, Zach. Tell the people who you are and anything you want to share.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Zack Teats. I currently work at Arizona State with AJ. Works
Yeah.
up, baby. I'm originally from Reno, Nevada. Grew up there my whole life. Played football in college at a Division III school, the University of Puget Sound. I graduated from there in 2019 with a degree in psychology, and now I'm living life down here in Arizona.
All right. I've been to Reno maybe twice, typically for a state meet. I grew up in Las Vegas, so a
Okay.
lot of green and cold is what I recall.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. Zach, tell the people how old you are.
I'm 24 years old.
Okay. Are you married?
I'm not married, no.
All right. And is future father true? Are you any kids?
That's in the plan. I'm not a father right now, but the plan is to eventually have kids.
Okay. So you're 24. What's the sentiment out there in the 24-year-old streets? Do young people want to be parents?
I think for the most part, they do. I feel like due to some cultural things, that idea might be starting to change, especially for younger women. I know I talk to a lot of females that aren't interested in having kids at all, and not interested in really having a family dynamic at all. But I don't know. I don't know if it's 50-50, 60-40, whatever the case may be. I can say most people that I know, though, they plan on having kids. They want to have kids. They're definitely interested in it.
Mm-hmm. For those who say they don't, do they give any reasons or speculation?
Normally, I hear when I dive into these conversations, it's financial reasons. A lot of people feel like it's hard enough to set yourself up right now as it is, and couldn't imagine taking care of a family, and adding more people to take care of in the future. So yeah.
Yeah. In many ways, that's logical, right? For a young person in their mid-20s who have a sense of finances and salaries and all that, and to make some economic conscious decisions. It's unfortunate that you have to negotiate paternalism or becoming a mother because of an income kind of tag. They say it's about $200,000 per child to raise them. That amount you would invest in a child up until towards 18 years old. So it's not a cheap thing. Do you think as young people mature, maybe their biology changes a little bit, maybe they got that single life out of them, that they'll kind of go back to sort of this innate desire for parenthood? What do you think?
Yeah, I do think so. I think it's interesting being in this age range. Like people my age, we've lived, but we haven't really lived. Like we've all experienced life to some extent. Everybody has their own experiences, their own things that they've gone through. But I think it's just human nature to kind of want to have a family or want to be involved with a family the older that you get, or the more that your life kind of settles down. Definitely after you get that single life out of you. I mean, like, I don't know how it is for everybody, but I feel like it's a stage and not something that I would want to be in the rest of my life. So I feel like there's probably a lot of people out there that feel that same way, but it's just kind of, it's up to their own personal circumstances and the way that they're truly feeling inside.
Yeah, no doubt. In preparation for this series, Men Control Your Own Reproduction, I looked at what percentage of men actually have children, right? And interestingly, about 60% of men over the age of puberty who can produce a child, 15 years old, only 60% actually have children. I thought that was very interesting. Not for this conversation, but marital rates across the nation are on the decline. In our community, they're on the decline. Yet babies are still being born. And so there's interesting dynamics as it relates to family. So to slightly shift, tell me about your family's dynamics. Mom, dad. What was it like for you growing up?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I grew up with a single mother, and I was raised by her and my grandparents. I have an older sister as well. We both have different dads, so she's my half sister.
Okay.
So that was kind of the dynamic that I had growing up. My father figure was really my grandfather, and my uncle, who was also involved in my life from an early age.
Okay.
And I also, had father figures just through playing sports my whole life, different mentors, different coaches that kind of helped me kind of mature, kind of grow a little bit, provided an aspect of guidance that, is hard to get from, your mom or your grandma.
Right.
But that was what it was like for me growing up.
So your biological wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
You had 3-generation rearing with grandma and mom, love, right? Love, nurturing. So your sister. Then you also had an uncle, right? A male figure, and then coaches, right?
Yep.
One thing when I'm, talking with single mothers in particular, and maybe the dad's not around, unfortunately, how do you still replace the male presence, the male voice, the male energy, the male model? And a lot of times that can fall to uncles, certainly coaches, as in your kind of context. But if there's not a familial kind of bond, mom's still got to be active and trying to find, positive male figures. I know that might be difficult to approach. You're always navigating, what does this person think my intentions are? But single moms out there, man, definitely trying to find a way where there's some consistent male presence in your beautiful son's life. Take a quick pause here. Shout out some people in the boxes. What's up, granddad? This is Zack, my dear friend. He's a McClendon fellow, young man handling business. Real spill, Mel, I see you. And then Dr. Wynn, of course, is in the house. Good to see you guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. Are you an uncle? Did your sister have children?
She does not have children. I don't know if she plans to have children or not, but I am not currently an uncle, no.
Okay. All right. And so you do want children. By what age? What age would you like to have kids?
I like to think by the time I'm in my mid-30s, I'd like to have kids. I also like to think I'd be a lot more financially stable by that time, a lot more consistency in my life by that time. So that's kind of just like the age that I've always thought that I would have kids. But truthfully, the older that I get, I don't think I really could put an age on it. I don't think I want to be, 50, 55 having my first child, but somewhere in that mid-30 range, I think.
Yeah, men on average tend to have their first child in their early 30s, like around 31 years old. For women, it's 27 years old, right? But yeah, you got to think about that age, right? Because if you mid-30s, let's just say 35, by the time your child is 10, you 45, you still moving, right? You still moving. But if you have multiple children, do you want just one, or how many kids you want?
In my head, I think I've always thought two to three. Just growing up with a sibling, I know that it was big for me to have a sibling in my life, and also just a cousin who isn't really like a sibling, but she's like a sibling to me. So I know that dynamic can really help. And I've just always imagined 2 to 3.
Yeah. For those of y'all listening, don't do your child like that. Don't have them come up by themselves. Zach, I'm an only child. Granddad, I don't know why you did it, man. This is pre-internet, pre-Atari, pre-video game, man. Just comic books and soldiers, man. It was rough.
Got to figure it out for yourself. Got to figure it out.
It was rough on the single kids. So now I have 6 of them. Kind of overdid it, but yeah, when you have children is definitely important, because you want to be mobile, you want to be agile, you want to see them have a full life, and even see some grandbabies come out of that. So beautiful. What do you look most forward to about being a pop?
I think for me, the idea of being a father excites me, because it'll allow me to truly have an impact on somebody that I didn't have that impact for myself. So to be able to guide you know, my own seed, to help them make their decisions in their life, to help them kind of understand right from wrong, to pass on lessons that I just learned that I had to learn on my own throughout my life. Being able to pass that down to what would be my kin would be like really big for me. And also just being able to try and, you know, make that kid be the best person that they could possibly be.
Mhm.
Making sure that they're trying to be successful in every way that they can. And if
Mhm.
I can, you know, be their source of inspiration for that, or kind of what drives them, that to me is what is exciting about being a father eventually.
Yeah, yeah. The fact that you're thinking about it, Zach, manifestation first requires intentional thinking, right? The kind of father you will become is first planted as a seed. And you talk about the powerful thing where fathers want their children to achieve their life and one, right? Meaning whether it's home purchase, wealth, career status, degree completion, whatever the case may be, we typically say we want them to at least get what we got and one. And that and one is generational advancement, right?
Mhm.
That's how generations improve their family name, because each generation of parents are deliberately raising children to be above the station that they are in currently. And so just to be thinking about that is very powerful and bodes well for your future success. So what scares you about being a dad? What scares
Man, probably like all of it. It sounds crazy.
you? Right.
Every you know, I've got a couple of friends who actually just recently became fathers.
Okay.
Kids that were my teammates in college. And you know, they're doing just fine. But you know, some like one of them's younger than me, so I can't even imagine, you know, like I could take care of a dog right now. I don't know if I could take care of a
Hmm.
whole other, you know, human being, with everything that
Hmm.
I got going on, and the things that I gotta get right for myself. But I think, you know, kind of just making sure that you're doing the right thing on their behalf, and
Hmm.
that you're not failing them. I don't really know what that failure would look like. You know, for me, like it's never been a thought of mine that I would leave a child's life if I were to have a kid, or anything like that. No matter how hard the circumstance got, but I have an idea of having a child after being married. So for me, it's like if I were to have problems with, you know, what may be my future wife, and those problems translated to the kid, or they weren't raised in a stable home because of issues that happened between me and the mom,
Right.
whatever it may be like that. Those are the kind of things that I think about when I think about the fears of having a child.
Man, that's deep, man. That's deep. Um, you, when you have children, you can never take your eyes off of them, brother, when they're
Mhm.
young, right? Um, and I don't mean extreme harm failure. But Zach, let me tell you right now, as a father of six, you're gonna fail.
Mhm.
You're gonna
Mhm.
you're gonna have more success, especially as you go along, right?
Mhm.
And you're gonna feel a healthy nervousness when you and your wife, to use your word, you want to be married first and then have a child, right? And then hopefully you and your wife are talking about intentionally when you want to have a child, meaning
Mhm.
you're preparing for it and not being told that you're now a father. As soon as that announcement is made, you know you're going to have the very healthy butterflies and intergenerational dynamics and a sense of overwhelmingness that's going to consume both you and your wife, man. But that's natural. The same way you're an athlete, when you was getting ready for that game, getting ready for that track meet, them butterflies were talking to you. That's your body saying, man, we're about to do something profoundly significant.
Mhm.
And you'll learn each day. You know, you'll talk to people, they'll offer advice, but you will learn when that baby is there hollering, looking at you, wanting something. You can't understand baby talk, but
Mhm.
you'll figure it out. You'll learn how to speak baby talk. You'll understand pitch and volume and screeches. But, you know, you just got to know that countless fathers have done it before you, and you will also do it. But you will have failures along the way, brother. If some of y'all have some failures in the boxes that y'all want to share, let us know. Let Zach know that it's good to fail gracefully, but to never take your eye off the prize, which is raising independent, confident, grounded children. Right.
Mhm.
Boom. Zach, man, just to go back a little bit with your pops, do you think any of his absence, does that concern you going forward, or does it actually drive you in some way to break the cycle?
It drives me for sure more than anything. Definitely want to break the cycle. Definitely want to change uh, just the position of my family historically. It's definitely a factor. Like growing up without a dad, it's a challenge in a lot of ways, but there's also a lot of, I think, good things that come from it,
Okay.
depending on how you approach your life. I don't look at it as anything that's debilitating me or that's hindering me from being successful. I look at it as something that's just pushing me to be greater and greater in really everything that I do. So for me, it's a huge driving factor, not only just like for me thinking about my future life, but for just like the way that I approach my day to day.
Yeah, and having kind of known you now a couple of months, I definitely you strike me as optimist. Meaning you look life straight ahead, you look it in the face, and you find the positive, right?
Definitely.
That's an important skill set to kind of continue to go forward. Um, Oftentimes when I talk to young men who don't have a father present dominantly, and I've been fortunate that my anchor is my dad. My
Mhm.
mother's passed away, and she and I never really connected. They divorced when I was around 15 or so.
Mhm.
So the male adult parent model had always been my dad. But I talk to young men, I say, hey, be the father you wish your father was, right?
Right.
And that can even apply if you had some time around your dad, because we all got this at times and stages, in our teens. What the hell's wrong with that old man, right? You can't do nothing right. But when your father's not present, be the man you wish your father was, right? You can take his example, good, bad, or indifferent, and then you can choose to become what you wish he was with your life lived, raising your children. So real glad to see that optimist approach that you're taking.
Definitely.
Yes, sir. All right, let's flip it. Let's have a little fun. Okay. What kind of dad will you be? All right, that's what this phase is called. What kind of dad will you be? All right.
Hmm. Hmm.
Your child is 6 years old at the basketball game. It's close. It's close, right? The
Hmm.
score is like 7-4, right? It's close. What kind of dad you gonna be? Your boy got the ball. He's he's walking. He's traveling.
Man. uh I like when they're that. I mean, when they're that young, it's all about them having fun, all about them, learning the dynamics of being on a team, learning how to share, doing that type of thing. I'm probably just getting excited that he's got the ball in his hands in a moment that he can't even understand. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably, hopping out of my seat, yelling and everything. But I would like to think that it would be all positive. You would never want to give a kid any negative reinforcement in that type of situation, especially that young. Um,
Right.
I definitely, growing up playing sports, I like sports have really gotten me where I am in my life. So I definitely want to kind of push my kids in that direction. Obviously, I wouldn't make them play a sport if they didn't want to, but I think that they can learn a lot from sports and it can help them become a better person. So I definitely want to um, push them in that direction and then help them in any way that I can. I've never really thought about being like the dad coach. I think that could put
Right.
you in an awkward position depending on what level you're at.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but definitely want my kids to feel like they have support from me if they're chasing any sort of goal, whether it be sports, whether it be something in the arts, really whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just to kind of speak to a future dynamic, as fathers, we have unmet dreams. As fathers, we have unmet dreams. For example, I wanted to be the leader of an alternative rock band. I wanted to be a singer, right?
I can see it.
Magically, my son is an opera singer, right?
Hmm.
I wanted to be a pretty good basketball player. Didn't quite have the talent, but one of my sons kind of moved into basketball, and so I'm wondering if I projected my unmet dreams onto my children in terms of what I exposed them to, right? I
Hmm.
don't know, Zach, if that's the healthiest thing to do, right? So I recommend you expose them to a whole lot of stuff. And even though you want them maybe to follow in dad's football, expose them to that. But at some point, we got to let them find their way. Our job is to expose them and then let
Hmm.
them kind of see what they naturally gravitate to.
Hmm.
What are your thoughts there?
No, that's real. That's definitely I like to think that that's the way that it happened for me. my mom kind of let me just sign up for sports. I tried baseball, played football, played basketball, did track a little bit. And then I was able to make my decisions, as I went along. Like I remember telling my mom, like in 6th grade, I was like, "Mom, I don't want to play baseball anymore." And I thought she was gonna be like disappointed in me or something, but she was like, "All right, that's cool. Like it's all good." So I definitely agree with that.
Beautiful. All right, you gonna be a strict dad or lenient, soft or hard?
I don't even know if it's possible to tell right now. I think I always tell my mom that she was strict when I was growing up. She doesn't like to believe me though. I think that I would have to be strict in some senses, but also I imagine myself really being, somebody that my kids can rely on. Like I don't want my kids to be afraid to approach me with anything. Even if they mess up or got in trouble, they can talk to me about that type of thing. The consequences may be what the consequences may be, but I don't see myself really being too much of a strict father.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, and a lot of times you'll need to assess and have some pretty in-depth conversation with your wife when y'all are dating and courting about parenting philosophy, because a lot of times what is absent in a single mother situation is that they have to be all things at all times,
Yeah,
right? To
definitely.
where when you have two parent homes, you all can be a yin and yang to each other. You can be a complement each other. And
Mhm.
so sometimes a mother might be more disciplinarian minded, and then dad plays a different role. Sometimes mom might be more nurturance and praising and encouraging, and then dad has to play perhaps a more stern role at times. So
Mhm.
definitely, young men out there, a part of your courtship ritual for intentional planned parenting needs to be conversations around kind of what are your strengths, what are your approaches and philosophies in the space of parenting. No doubt. All right. Which holiday is going to be all out now? Which holiday is dad going to own, and dad's going to take the lead and be enthusiastic about which one?
It's definitely gonna be Christmas, just from the spirit of my family. We love Christmas. My grandma goes super hard for Christmas. Just houses decorated like crazy. Never wasn't gifts under the tree. Just that type of thing. I really get in the Christmas spirit when that time of year rolls around. I really love Christmas, so that's definitely gonna be the one that I make great for my kids too.
All right. The Temptation Soul Christmas. You got to have it in rotation.
That's right.
What will be your non-negotiables with your kids? So, for example, in my house, it's education, right?
Mhm.
That I mean, we would go berserk over education not being properly focused on. What will it be for you? What will it be for you?
I definitely agree with that. I would say education, just because that with sports is the vehicle, has been my vehicle to get me to the position that I'm in. So I know that education is the pathway to opportunity. It's the pathway to being able to make something for yourself. So I definitely agree with that. Um, I haven't thought about the non-negotiables honestly. I would say uh, I'm gonna definitely want my kids to have a hobby. It doesn't have to be sports, but like I said, it could be in the arts, it could be music, singing, whatever it may be. Something that piques their interest though, and allows them to just practice having a healthy outlet, a healthy distraction. Um, I think those are all the two I could think of right now because I
Yeah,
haven't
no,
really
no,
thought
yeah,
about that question.
yeah. Those are it. There's, as parents, you want to have a calm house. You want to have a predictable home. You want to minimize of uncertainty and unpredictability, right? And you'll find that rhythm. But there are some things that your children need to say, "Oh, dad's about to go crazy, right?
Mm,
Dad's about to act a fool,"
mhm.
because when your general temperament ought to be norm and even kill a stabilizing kind of presence. But when dad kind of raises up, dad is saying, "Oh, we got to correct that right away, right?"
Mhm.
Everything can't be frantic, right? But in a sense of calmness and tranquility, when one of the parent rises up, the kids can distinguish between acceptable behavior and, oh, something is kind of out of alignment right now, and let me make my adjustments. And
Right.
a lot of times that'll be education. Sometimes it might be respect,
Yeah.
whatever the case may be. But
I was just thinking that.
mhm. So beautiful. All right. Let's shift the conversation as we kind of get ready to close. Beautiful family. Feel free to pose any questions you might have of Zack or myself. Really want to thank you guys for joining us. Zach, I'm not putting this on you. I'm not asking about your sexual business. That's not my business. That's not these box folks' business. However, in talking with your friend Arkeem, he told me something about something called raw dog. What the hell? What the hell? Zach, you mean there are men out there not using condoms in their teens and early 20s? They don't plan to be parents. This isn't planning. This isn't preparation. What's going on with the raw dog world, Zach?
Man, I couldn't tell you. I really couldn't tell you what's going on with it or why it's a thing. What I can say is, I don't know if it's a cultural influence, if it's kind of just a desire to rebel against the way that we were taught when we were younger. But I definitely know that is a common practice. I don't know how it started, why it started. I don't know why it's so popular nowadays. I don't know if it's because of the science that's available, where females feel like they're more protected against certain things. But it very much is a part of the culture. It very much is a part of something that happens in our age range without a lot of thought, I would say. But I didn't use that term. I know Arkeem used that term. I didn't use that term.
Do you have a term for it? Is there another term? I need all my terms. I need
unprotected.
Hey,
that's the term.
Well, we need to get that out of youth culture, because young men out there in this J4 sphere, you've been capable of producing a child since you were 15 years old. That's a high adult act, but it costs $200,000 up to 18 to raise them. You got to make a baby out of preparation, not passion, men. And women have a lot of forms of birth control. Great. But men, you have to control your own reproduction. And you got two ways to do it: abstinence, or condoms. And as I say it, I'll say it again, Big Zack. Have a condom in your car, a condom in your wallet, a condom in your backpack, a condom in your drawer, wherever you might find yourself in a situation where you want to experience the very beautiful feeling of intimacy. Use a condom, beautiful family. Use a condom. All right, Zack, any question for me, brother?
What you said you have 6 kids. What has been your biggest challenge throughout raising those 6 kids?
Obviously, finances, right? I had my first child at 21 by my first wife, and then my wife and I now have 5 kids together. And I don't recall the last age, but daycare is one of the biggest expenses associated with children, next to diapers. I bought diapers for 11 years, if you can believe it. And so as you're raising a family, you have, in this case, 2 incomes. You can manage that with 2 children, but by the time the 3rd child comes along, the math just doesn't add up. Literally, one of the paychecks exclusively would be going to pay child care. And so in my wife and I's choosing, that we decided she would not work, which was a blessing, but then there's economic realities, especially when you have many children. So that's kind of an on the ground, look at the checkbook, kind of think this through, right? And then you have to make some decisions around a fiscal resource allocation. Going back to my theory that almost everybody has a hustle. That's where I started hustling. I needed multiple streams of income just to contribute financially to the house while my wife was managing the house. So that's one reality. And so for future fathers, you want to think about your economics. Zack, you talked about wanting to be financially stable a bit more, because you're anticipating a financial reality related to children, and you're absolutely right.
Definitely.
For me, with multiple children, the dynamic is to let them be their own individual personalities, right? And trying not to squelch in any way, right? Your children are not cookie cutters of each other, and you got to kind of provide them exposure, let them pathway in ways that make sense for them. They'll be kind of drawn to that, but to not have the same strategy for all of your kids. One child might just take a redirection. One child might respond to disappointment. One child might respond to praise. One child might have to get a little tap tap, right? I don't know your philosophy there, but whatever the case may be. And so you're not just a parent that's a robot that parents the exact same way. You have to be mindful of the human personalities that are in front of you, and always preserve and protect and own your responsibility to raise independent, confident, grounded young people. That's not one pathway. And so you're parenting simultaneously while managing multiple lives, and you're doing that in tandem with another grown human being that's the mother, that also has input and expectations and those kind of things. So a lot of communication, a lot of shared conversation, a lot of mutual trust with each other. All those things are critical. Yes, sir. Anything else there, Big Zack?
I think I'm good, AJ. Appreciate you again for having me on. It's been a good conversation, good talk.
No, man, I'm glad, and I'm glad I don't know if you've had conversations about your future father self, but that's a part of what this is about, man. Being intentional in terms of preparing for fatherhood, being ready for it, and kind of having those pre-conversations before we produce a child. Again, 51% of our communities have babies born that live with single parents. That's a problem. Mad hats off to those who are doing it successfully. Just a couple of last closing recommendations. Young men out there, establish a relationship with positive males, people that give you that complementary perspective, especially when you go into fatherhood. Connect with older fathers, people that have kind of been in the game a while, that can give you some perspective, they can help give some definition to what you're feeling. If you have nieces and nephews, spend some time with them, right? That gives you a chance to be in an authoritative role, kind of a parental role temporarily, but it gives you a chance to take on adult responsibility with someone you love. So that's a good kind of playful testing ground for your beautiful future children. And then also decide what you're going to keep from your childhood when you look at parenting. Decide what you're going to keep and bring into your own parenting style, but then also decide what you're going to discard. Decide what you're not going to bring into your parenting. Again, you can break cycles and you can reinforce positive cycles by observing and thinking through what your parent experience was like. And then lastly, as I talked about, be the father you wish your father was. Zack, I want to thank you for joining me in this wonderful conversation. Folks in the box, thank you for joining me. Please give us a subscription. Share it. Again, we are targeting young men in the Future Fathers conversation. If you are a future father and want to come chop it up with AJ, your moderator, I'd love to have you on. On behalf of J4 Conversations, once again, Zack, thank you so much. Love, love, love. See you on the next one.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.